Hey there. Well, today is an extremely special day. I can't wait for part two with amazing Natalie from State Street. Natalie, thank you so much for being here. You are even stepping into newer and grander leadership roles since we talked last time, and I really can't wait for you to share your wisdom today.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate being here again with you. It's always a pleasure to chat with you.
And so before we, jump in and talk a little bit about, what's most important to you and all of the amazing initiatives that you're kicking off for State Street. And I thought I would ask to elaborate a little bit about what really sparked your interest in D&I. Why are you so passionate about it? To basically take on a couple different jobs to make sure that the workplace is going to be different for yourself and women coming in after you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the question. It's interesting because I feel like I've always had this like job on the side of my desk with D&I and it used to feel like my superpower, like, yes, I come with this as well, right? But when I got that question some time ago, and it really like made me think back, like, when did this all start for me? Where did, because some people choose to get engaged. I would love more to get engaged, and it made me pensive about my background with it. And it's funny, I actually think all the way back to high school that I saw and observed a wrong, and I saw the authority not address it, and it made me wonder. And I remember the moment of, well, am I not important enough that the staff, the administration of our high school, didn't right this wrong? So, just to be more specific, uh, it was just after MLK's birthday, which is in January, and it was kicking off Black History. Black History Month was like right around the corner. It was around that timing, and our school. I went to a predominantly white school here in Massachusetts, and um, someone wrote something pretty obscene on a picture of MLK in the hallway, and I was already like, we could do a little bit more effort to celebrate, our great history with Martin Luther King Jr. But then they wrote, someone, a random student, wrote something pretty obscene on the picture, and the school left it up. And I thought, not only clearly he wrote the N word on the picture. Clearly, that's obscene. But for the school to leave it up and not reprimand and not acknowledge, and like that seemed more egregious to me. So I felt like this. My sister and I actually went into overdrive. We like wanted to address it, and we went to the. This happened to be right outside of one of the departments. We went to the department head and said, "Okay, first of all, you got to take that down, and then now what are you going to do? Now you need to educate folks, and you need to tell people why this is important. This is around when other things were happening in history, and well, then like a week later was Black History Month, and it was again just one picture, and I was like, well, that's going to get defiled. So I remember my sister's only a year older than me, so I was a junior, she's a senior, and we were like, okay, well, we would love to get in the mix of this, and can we have the display case that's right outside the principal's office, which is the first one you see right when you walk into the school, because that's the only locked one that you can't get to. And we were like, we'll take care of it. So literally every day for Black History Month that year, we came in early, very early for school, and changed the display case to show, first of all, there's more than just MLK and Black history. There's more than just the couple of names that might come to mind when you think of great um, Black people in the history of this country. And we wanted to show the magnitude, we wanted to show the variety, we wanted to show all of the category, all the greatness that we weren't learning about in our classes. And for some reason, I so appreciate my mom for doing this. She had just kind of subliminally left a lot of this information that I felt like I just wanted to share it. And so literally every day was like African Americans in literature, and then another day African Americans in art, and African Americans in sports. Clearly, a lot of folks can remember, and rattle off names. So just wanting to share the beauty and greatness and excellence that isn't being celebrated in this country at the time. So, and then from there, I remember a classmate of mine nominating me for something. So here's the D&I piece and also the leadership piece. I didn't feel ready, but a colleague of mine, fellow student, Miles Lawton, he had nominated me to be president of our Peer Assistance Leadership Council, which I was like, why are you nominating? He's like, she can do it. She can do it. He had more faith than me. And it actually turned out to be such a great experience of being able to have some leadership experience and directing our team. And the whole concept of that council was to go into the middle schools and, some middle school students challenge their parents, but they may be willing to listen to their older siblings, right? So we're older sibling age. So we would go in and talk about all different topics. So like just both of those experiences really just stuck with me as something as I'm impacting others. I'm hopefully broadening people's minds, and that has always just been then something that I'm like, I come with this too, and I come with that too. And so that's where it sparked, definitely. And then in college did the same, and my other work experiences before State Street, and then I've been here now 13 years, and 13 years have been a part of our employee networks and resource groups. It's just been active ever since.
And you're not slowing down anytime soon, from what I can tell. And so I just really want to highlight something that you mentioned that happened in high school, because two things that happened were really quite beautiful and amazing. One is you had a male ally that picked you, what I call a proactive ally.
Yeah.
Not somebody waiting for you to say, will you be my sponsor? Will you be my mentor? He's like, nope, I see her. She's amazing. She's going to go do that. And so I don't think that your classmate knew how, maybe you didn't even know how amazing this was, but it's something that's so important in the workplace because, as we've all seen, most workplaces are still male dominated, especially when it comes to higher levels in leadership. And so that proactive sponsorship is so important. So I just wanted to really highlight that and say how amazing it was that you had that classmate. And then also your ability to be like, what, are you crazy? Okay, I'll try. Because I mean, as you well know, us women, not to throw us under the bus all at the same time, but we're box checkers, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know. I haven't checked 8 of the boxes or 9 of the boxes, when our male counterparts tend to be like 2 or 3 boxes. I'm good. I'm going to give it a try. And so just your willingness to really go for it at a young age really kind of made you world-class and a high performer even before you probably knew what that was.
Absolutely. And you're right. I'm so grateful to him for that, because you're right. I didn't notice it at the time, of course, but it just opened this whole other element that was fulfilling to me. And we're still good friends to this day. So I'm absolutely grateful.
And I think it's wonderful too, because there's one of the major things that sets world-class performers aside from everyone else is that everyone has, either anger, fear, worry, all those negative emotions, but world-class performers, they move forward anyway. And so for anyone watching, if there's, if you get pushed to do something by someone who clearly has your best interest at heart, or if there's something that you want to do, but you're a little fearful, then follow Nathalie's lead and just go for it. So that's awesome. And so if you were to, you've been at State Street now for 13 plus years, not simply doing an amazing job in your role, but in multiple of the, ERGs, and not just belonging to them, but leading them. And if you were to look at your professional journey, either at State Street or when you started as a professional woman in the workplace, is there a message that you would give to your younger self? Like if you could pull your younger self aside and say, you should always really remember to do this, or I did this when I was your age, but if I knew better, I would have maybe done that. So anything along those lines to share for maybe some emerging leaders that are trying to get on the fast track to, being VP or a C-level executive?
Well, absolutely, and it's more of the latter that you mentioned. There are definitely some things that I would give caveats to my younger self, or certainly want to share with anyone who is in our audience that's younger. Um, it's about clarity, and that's such a key lesson that I feel like I've learned later in my years, my seasoned years. Um, I feel like even coming out of college, and I went to a great school. I went to Bentley University. A phenomenal experience, education wise. Social wise, that was a
Mhm.
different story. But academically felt confident, and yet because of some life experiences, things happening with my family, things happening with friends, things happening, I allowed my confidence to be knocked, and I just kind of went to, all right, survival mode of, okay, I need an opportunity. Okay, what's next in life? You just kind of go through the motions, and that's the key that I want to share with folks is, like, take the moment to get clarity and drive towards it, because it wasn't until later that I feel like I gained more clarity and was driving towards what I want rather than what just fulfilled needs, or what just felt like this is what you're supposed to do. I went to a business school, so let me go work in this, or go do, you know what I mean? And yet when I see young folks, or some of our interns, some of our um, younger colleagues that just have so much clarity, I applaud them, and then want to help make the way for them, and want to clear the way, and connect them with whoever I can to help, because they have that clarity. So I think that that's such a huge factor for folks as they're going along in their careers, is not just, don't take just the next thing, right? Here we were just talking about, if a sponsor does give you the opportunity, sure, and you don't have all that clarity, it's okay, because it's the experience. But having clarity actually will have the sponsors and the mentors propel you forward into the road that you don't even realize is going to bring you to, where that, what you quote unquote call success, or that dream opportunity. And it's because you may be speaking of your desires, or your, the vocation that really, that is clear for you. So I think taking the time to do that is more really effective.
And then, so what, clarity, at least, as a coach, I've seen it, is that clarity is fluid. Like, sometimes we're clear, but then we have this feeling in our gut and our heart that maybe we're supposed to pivot. And so, of course, I have tools and resources to get clear and figure out what that is, but can you share what's helped you when maybe you've maybe been a little off path to course correct?
Yeah. So there's been a couple of things. I think definitely I can attribute a lot of gaining my clarity or getting back on track to mentors in my life. So, like I mentioned, I really, that really resonated with me when I read, was it Malcolm Gladwell's book, Being a Connector. Like, that really just, oh my gosh, that's me, right? So I think people underestimate connecting with and building your network with people, because that can actually really help you, because you don't know what you don't know, right? I know there's that grid of you know what you don't know what you don't know. So having mentors in your world, and seeking out just more folks in your industry, in your company, in your networks, as far as like professional networks, affinity groups, or what have you, can really help. That really helped me. But also just the expanding. There were a couple more times in my career path that I did just take the challenge of, well, for example, I was catching up with a friend of mine. This is years after college, and I was just trying to gain some clarity on my career path, and ready for a trend. I felt the moment, like you said. Should I pivot? Should I not? What have you? And I was talking with a Bentley alum as well, and he was like, "Come join this board with me." And he just invited me to join this, and it again opened up so many doors, as far as just skills, building skill sets, me connecting with more folks, me being able to I joined the team. This was the National Black MBA Association, and joined the team, and just tried to absorb as much information, and that again helped me gain clarity as to, okay, this is, clearly the next step for me, or I was able to gain leadership experience, management experience, advising with corporate relations. Just it broadened things that I hadn't. So I didn't plot that, but I did go to that next step because of the network. So because of just really building those relationships with folks.
Yeah, and by the way, I wanted to mention and remind everyone, if you have any questions for Nathalie, go ahead and post them in the chat, and we'll make sure that they get answered. Again, I wanted to highlight something that you said that's so important, because sometimes we might be going down one path and, like I said, feel in our gut and our heart that maybe we should do something else, but we get a little bit, it's possible we get a little bit paralyzed by, that last X amount of years, I got my degree in this, I've been working in this, how do I pivot either inside my company or out? And so I think it's really important what you were talking about is the next step could just be to talk to someone, to build a relationship, to talk to someone who, if, you're looking, I have a young niece who's, I think she's 29 now, but, she was working in consulting. She knew it wasn't for her. So she took some time off to slow down, and she wanted to be in supply chain, but she knew nothing about it. So the first step is she talked to an executive in supply chain. Like, what do you like? What do you recommend that I do? Could I do this? Can I make the transition? What do you advise is my first step? So she had to take a class in coding and a class in something else and a certificate. And I don't know. And now she's has an amazing job in supply chain. So sometimes that next step can just be research or a phone call or something like that, or being around people like you were talking about that can really lift you up and help you gain clarity. So what I'm hearing is, and I've seen over and over, that, clarity is not gained in solitude. Sometimes we just run around in circles in our head.
Yes. Yeah, I'm definitely known to do that to myself, but I couldn't agree with you more. It's sometimes it is that conversation that can bring that epiphany moment for folks.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I want to make sure too that we, address the title of the interview, which is using change to your advantage. Before we went live, we were talking about some of the change that's been happening, some good and certainly some not so good, of course, that's, weighing really heavy on everybody's heart. Well, not everybody's heart, not hanging heavily on, people's, should be hanging heavy on more people's heart is what I'm getting at. But, do you have, we want to keep making progress, keep it moving forward, despite things that feel like setbacks, or despite things where we feel like we're not making progress. So can you share a strategy that you use when you get kind of a gut punch about something that, we were talking, this is being filmed just a couple of days after the 4th of July, where sometimes you're putting your flag up and, based on what's going on, like, shouldn't I be more proud to put this flag up than I am? It's just, sometimes hard. And so in light of wanting to continue on to make progress, is there a strategy or some advice that you can share, how to manage some of these things that are going on, and then take a pause and a deep breath and to keep moving forward?
Yeah, so just what this country, actually the world, has been experiencing of late in the last couple of years, never mind this past month, it's really heavy, right? And and you're asking about what tool do you get through, and there's many in your toolbox that you may access, but in particular in the past month, I actually appreciate one that you shared with a lot of folks in your book, Zoned In, and I loved it. It was published a couple of years ago, so folks who don't have it, you should definitely go and take a look at it.
I did not pay you to say that.
You did not, and you didn't know that I was going to share that. But when you ask that question, I can't help but think about the imagery training, right? It's a tool that I think people don't even realize they've been using, and I want to help remind folks to use it, especially now. So imagery training, well, you could probably share the definition of it a lot better than I can, but really quickly, I think it's so key because it's It's about really taking the time to envision your next steps. I know you mentioned it about like Olympic athletes, right? They go through months of preparation for the Olympics, literally envisioning the day that they're going to compete, envisioning, getting ready and weighing in and prepping and running their race or doing whatever sport that they're preparing for, and just all of the steps. They really envision it. So when we think about today and some of the trials that we go through, I mean, literally, there was another mass shooting the other day. Here it was a holiday, and yet that was heavy for me because I think about, well, did this whole country just celebrate Juneteenth like I think it should be honored? I don't know. Um, just a few weeks ago, we did honor, formally at my company, Juneteenth for the first time, the newest federal holiday, and I it really resonates about, all right, who does it mean something for, and when I think about how do we walk through change and try to grow from it, it's about imagining what would I like to see, and I try to walk towards that. I would like to see more respectful people of everyone's bodies. What does that mean? What does that take? So instead of ruminating, which I think I'm the queen of at times, just festering with these heavy thoughts, what would I like to see? And what is it going to take for me to get there? So I just appreciated learning about that tool, reading about that tool, and practicing it. Right? They say practice makes
Progress.
perfect. Thank you.
Progress.
Thank you.
Not perfect.
Not perfect, but progress. And so practicing what I would like to see, um, because one of the important things that why I think that it resonated for me as a Black female professional, I am still, it's 2022, and this country is still seeing a lot of firsts. And I don't know if that really resonates for everyone, but think about that. If I'm first in my family to do a lot of things, a lot of us are. This generation, my generation, is first to make the salaries that we're making, have the titles that we're doing. Where a lot of us are first-time homeowners in our family. Like that's we're so conquering this new land all the time. There's constant change, and so how do we get that to our advantage is really trying to envision, okay, what else would I would like to see for myself, for my family, for my community, for this country. And I think that that's really really important to imagine it and walk towards it.
Yeah, and that's so important. And if you don't mind, I'm going to add one thing to what you said, and that is to take a moment and sit in honor, with pain, the heaviness, and honor maybe the people, and that might be ourselves, it might be other people, but honor the emotions that we're feeling, and then take a step back and then do exactly what you're saying. You're such an amazing student, by the way, in addition to being an amazing teacher. But then think about, ask yourself the question, how would I like this to turn out, and what's my next best step? And from that place, we can step out of anger and emotion and say, oh, I'm going to talk to my boss to figure out a way within our company to even celebrate this holiday, and raise more awareness.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, that's where creativity and progress and kind of constructive change happens. So I agree with you kind of 100%, but sometimes it takes some preparation because that can't happen from a place of emotion, especially from a place of negative emotion, which is 100% understandable. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just not, at the end of the day, helpful to move initiatives forward that are near and dear to us.
Absolutely. I feel like even that I'm a student learning about it's easy to react, but you want to take the time to respond. So I think that that is such an important thing. So as just a really quick other example, one of the other hats that I wear at State Street. So a couple of years ago, like many other corporations, but it was special to see State Street commit to 10 action steps addressing racism and inequality. within our company, but within the communities that we're in, and we're a global company. So hopefully to see that impact, really ripple throughout all the communities that we're in. And from the 10 actions, so each action step is a direct effort that we're trying to make to address, racism and inequality. For example, tripling our number of Black and Brown leaders in our, upper echelon of the company, in our executive leadership, encouraging more communications and training, and but specifically the one that I was voluntold, or affectionately voluntold to lead.
I have not heard that, but I'm going to have to remember that.
Is about civic engagement and reflection in and around Juneteenth. And once again, like, the first thing that hit me was, well, Juneteenth is very significant in the United States, not necessarily across the globe. So how do we make this impactful and really show the importance, regardless of anyone's location? We are 40,000 people in over 30 countries. And so I found out, which is something I didn't know, Race Unity Day is also in June. So whether it's United States and you're honoring Juneteenth, or you're anywhere else in the world and you want to honor race unity, it still is the same, similar, I would say, similar impact of really, like, people. I genuinely feel like people would want to take action, want to engage, but don't necessarily know how. So our team, been working with our team for a couple of years now, just designing training, designing actions, designing opportunities to work in their communities, but then the reflection point, providing a space for them to reflect. And that's at least providing step one. Step two, like, just provide that space for folks. So I'm really proud of our team that's been building what that looks like.
Yeah. And I think too, just to, add on to that, and I'm not talking about religion, but if you're, for folks who are spiritual, and you can actually look into the biology of how none of us are honestly different, that actually there's more similarities, not just between human beings and their race, but also with all living things, and in nature. So I think, it is a great place to start. We have a lot of work to do, but I really honor your work. And for everyone listening, is there a parting call to action that you would like to share with everyone? Either remember this or do this, or what would you like to leave everyone with?
What comes to mind is something, it came from a conversation that I had recently. And it just really helped. It was a couple of my colleagues on my team, and we were just talking about some of the heaviness of late, right? And it's emotionally connect. It's unveil the truths and then share the light. It takes nothing from me to enlighten the next person, and hopefully we're both growing and then impacting others, right? So, but I first need to emotionally connect with you. I need to unveil the truth, maybe share more information, or let's go look at it, what have you. But then share that light. Share. If for a sponsor, open the door for someone. It doesn't take from you to do that. Engage with someone, ask questions, like, just connect with folks, unveil the truth, and then share that light. I think that would be something that I want to definitely continue to share with all, that I try to do on a regular basis.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. And if we can all connect with someone and really unveil the light within ourselves and with them, and maybe if it's one person a week, I don't know about you, it can be something different for everyone, but just, offering a suggestion for what Nathalie said, like on Mondays, I just have in my calendar a Monday reach out, or Monday connect, and just thinking or setting some type of goal or something to actually do that. And if you imagine, if everyone did that, then eventually we'd probably make a lot of progress for real change. And so Nathalie, thank you so much for all the good that you are putting into the world. You're an amazing leader, and I look forward to continuing to follow your journey.
Thank you so much, Sheryl. Appreciate your time.